Okay, it's Sunday, July the 25th, something like that. A nice, really bright, sunshiny day. And it's time to pick some corn, and today we're going to be picking corn and putting up some ears of corn on the cob. Two ways I always do it, either on the cob or cream it and put it in the freezer. Either way it goes in the freezer. But yeah, let's get started here. The first row is totally silver queen corn. The second row, which is planted at the same time, is golden and silver queen corn mixed. Off of these first two rows, I will be putting up the ears just on the cob because the silver queen corn is much better to do on the cob actually than the golden queen is. The silver queen kind of is a little bit mushy if you make cream corn out of strictly out of silver queen corn. So and a couple of you know, corn 101 things which I've covered in comments, but everybody might not know it. Like here at the very top, which this corn's about 8 foot tall, these are what you call the tassels, and this is where the pollen is. And most of the pollen's already fell off of these because they're about ready to pick, or most of the ears are ready to pick. But anyway, the pollen falls off of these tassels and hits the silks of the corn. Here's the ear of corn. Pollen hits these silks, which these are brown because they're ready to pick. They're kind of light amber beige colored when they first silk out. Anyway, there's one silk of corn for every kernel of corn in there. There's one certain silk that corresponds to that kernel. If that one silk doesn't get pollen on it, then it doesn't form. If there's a missing kernel, it's because the one silk did not get pollen on it. Corn is notorious for cross-pollination, which, you know, can be good, can be bad. I plant this golden and silver queen corn together specifically so it will cross-pollinate, because I kind of like it mixed up on the ears. So I will have some ears which are silver queen corn, and I will have some ears that are solid yellow, golden queen corn, and then I'll have most of the ears will be mixed up in some form or fashion. The main pest of the corn, the European corn borer. It originates as a moth. The moth lays its eggs on the underside of these leaves. It's kind of a white cluster. Yeah, I guess if you was able to get out here and bust up your clusters, you wouldn't have any problem with them, but they're real hard to find. But anyway, the moth lays its eggs on the underside of the leaves here, and then they tunnel into the corn ear here and just mess up the ends of your corn ear. I mean, they can do a lot of damage. If you let your corn get really full, they can do a lot of damage and go way down here. But I don't pick mine. I mean, I pick mine early enough to where it's not so bad, and I wind up cutting off the ends with a knife. So I'll show you some of that here in just a minute. There's a fat ear right in there. I did this yesterday, and I pulled and processed about 60 ears or so of corn. So I'll probably be doing about 60 ears or so again today. Maybe. It's sort of hard to tell. That's what I love to cook them in, this big enameled pot, which is the same thing that I cooked my my giant pot of soup in last year. If you're a serious gardener at all, you've got you a big enameled pot. I mean, that just goes with the territory. It's just standard issue equipment for for all gardeners that do any kind of canning or putting up of stuff, is a big enameled pot. Anyway, this will be the ear I'm after right there. Okay, so there's an ear of corn. Okay, now let's see what we got here. Shuck this puppy out. Good looking ear of corn. And there's what it looks like right there to start with. Great looking ear of corn. And shucks, I was kind of hoping, believe it or not, that this one had a borer in the end of it, which I wish I could have showed you. And what I like to do whenever I shuck it, you can just pull these all the way off to start with, or you can just sort of leave them dangling like that. If you leave them dangling like that, it's much easier to snap off. Just grab this and just snap it right off. That's a nice clean snap right there. Sometimes it doesn't snap so cleanly, and you have to take your knife and cut off right there. This is an extremely good knife for cutting off corn. And pretty much always, even though the corn borers didn't get, this is one of the few you'll see that looks this good on the end. I always just trim the ends off. For one thing, I put them up in quart freezer bags, and this absolutely totally full length just will not fit in the quart. You can put them in gallons, but I prefer to put them in the quarts. And so I always just take them like right here, just I mean, there's not much corn there anyway. And most of the time, the corn ear borers have messed this up. But anyway, you just take that and boom, and that's it. So that's about the right size. 3 of these will fit into a quart freezer bag. I'm just starting to pull that one, and you can see it looks kind of nasty there on the end already. So there's been a corn borer in this, in which, as I say, probably at least half of them will have corn borers in them. Okay, this is going to be a excellent example here. There that little bugger is. See him right there? Right there. The scourge. There is a type of corn that's called BT corn, which I don't plant. This, you know, it's in the frankenfood category, I guess you call it. It's been genetically modified. Bacillus starts with a T, the next one. Obviously the next part starts with a T. Bacillus something or another. But anyway, it's a naturally occurring insecticide type of deal. The corn borer eats it and gets sick. It starts feeling sick within a matter of a couple of hours and dies within about a day or two. But yeah, the BT corn, which all varieties of corn is not available as in this BT corn type of thing. But anyway, this golden and silver queen, I don't know if it is or not, but really, to me, the borers don't really do that much damage for my, you know, for the way I process my corn, because I'm cutting out this end anyway 100% of the time. And it's very seldom that I get an ear where the borer has, you know, really did a lot of damage down through here. I'd rather it wasn't there, but it's all things considered, I'm not going to put any insecticides on it or plant this BT corn. Some people might, but anyway, there is your European corn borer situation. Yeah, that's got a secondary one right there. See that, and there's got there's a little bitty smaller one. Let's see if I can see it. Smaller one right there, right at my fingernail right there. So usually they don't have a secondary one, but that's one that's just getting started. So I'll have to trim this end a little bit off a little bit farther than I normally would have. And as you can see there on that break, it didn't break quite so even. So I usually take my super Ginsu type knife and just do like that. I mean, it's really, you got to have a big sharp knife to do this. That's just all there are to it. And then I come. Alright, so there we go, another nice ear of corn. And I'll just show a few examples here of my corn. This here is mostly a silver queen. It was planted on the silver queen row where it was 100% planting of silver queen. And if maybe you can tell, maybe you can't, there are just a few kernels of golden queen which are mixed in here. So yeah, that's the example of the cross-pollination. And here is a kernel. Here is an ear of golden queen corn. And by the way, just the corn that you plant is just so much better tasting than what you go and get in the store. Even when you go and buy golden and silver queen, lots of times it really is not even golden and silver queen. They lie to you half the time. But there is an example of just 100% golden queen, and here is an example of one that has mixed quite a bit golden and silver queen together. It really did a lot of cross-pollination. As a matter of fact, you're not supposed to ever plant like just one row of corn, because you don't get it doesn't pollinate very well, and you're liable to have missing kernels. Now next year I am going to plant just a single long double row. I'm hoping I won't have any problems with pollination then, but that's what I'm going to try next year anyway. And one other thing here, when I was talking about cutting off the ends of it where the corn borers have messed up, and then you might have a little section where part of it's bad, and then in that case you just come and cut off just a little section just like that, make it just a little V cut on it. 41. 42, and you just got to squeeze these, see if they're nice and ripe or not. Also, you can look at the ends and just see how dead they are, but just the bigger around they are, of course, the riper they are. 43, 44, and of course I've got beans wrapped around some of them, so I got to be a little extra careful. 45. Okay, so here's what we wound up with. 65 ears of corn. Already got like about 9 of them shucked only, so I got a lot of shucking to do here. And one more little side note as far as your pollination, cross-pollination goes. As I said, this is Golden and Silver Queen hybrid corn, which it goes back a long way. They've had it ever since I've been alive, I think, or at least ever since I've been planting a garden. But anyway, they do, and this is plenty sweet enough. For just about anybody, it's plenty sweet enough. They do have newer varieties of hybrid called super sweets, just generic term for them, super sweets. That's not the specific name for the corn. But on some of those, now the good thing about this is corn, just as soon as you pick it, the sugar in it starts turning to starch. So you really need to process it fairly quickly. So that's why I'm out here just yakking, slowing it down. But anyway, you need to process it fairly quickly after you pick it. But the Golden and Silver Queen corn will last better actually after it's picked, as far as not converting from sugar to starch, as the super sweets. And also the super sweets, some of them, I'm not sure about the specifics, but some of them you do not want them to cross-pollinate with anything. Some of the super sweets, if they cross-pollinate with anything, will result in a corn which is practically ineditable, which is in contrast to this stuff here. It'll cross-pollinate with each other for sure and be even better as far as I'm concerned. Probably cross-pollinate with about anything except maybe a super sweet. But anyway, do not cross-pollinate your super sweets. Anyway, check and read up about what you're planting, because there's no way I can know about each and every variety. Okay, let's get started with this shucking and cutting and all this kind of stuff.